That was painful to watch. That was a painful basketball game. Especially, honestly, it was a painful half of basketball to watch. That's the only word I can use to describe it. That was painful. Before we get on, if you guys are new to the channel, subscribe. We are trying to, we could actually hit 4,500 subscribers today. That would be absolutely insane if we could somehow manage to do that. Really appreciate all the support on the channel recently. But anyway, now let's get on to the video. They gave up near 60 points in the second half, and they would have given up over 60 points had the Storm not just rested their bench. And fair play to everyone on the Storm for hitting every shot. They hit everything. Every single shot they put up went in. So you got to give credit where credit's due there. But Indiana might be the worst defensive team I've ever seen. They might be the worst defensive team I've ever seen. And look, Caitlin Clark cannot play defense. She's a terrible defender. People were criticizing me because I put an F beside Caitlin Clark on defense. No, Caitlin Clark sucks as far as defenders go. As far as the game is concerned, she didn't have a bad game. She was 1 assist off her first 20 and 10 game. Her shooting percentages, look, not great. Not the greatest, but... And the turnovers, 7, 4 were caused by her, maybe 5 were caused by her. Some were bad, Samuelson dropped an open layup. Don't know what happened, whether it was her fault or whether it was Mitchell's fault for that last one, but yeah, the turnovers were there. But this Indiana Fever team is terrible. And I'm not joking, they've surrounded Caitlin Clark. Look, Aaliyah Boston was good. She had a decent game. She can't stay on the floor. It's a problem when you can't stay on the floor and you are the team's only center. It's a problem. Nalissa Smith showing why she should be actually playing basketball and not out of the rotation like Coach Sides wanted. Kelsey Mitchell, when Kelsey Mitchell goes 1 dribble, 2 dribbles to the basket and uses her speed, she's great. When she goes into that hezzy tween, she shoots about 10%. Kelsey Mitchell started off on fire and then ended up 5 of 16 in the field. If you're looking at the... as bad as Caitlin Clark's shooting, Kelsey Mitchell's shooting a worse percentage. And I'm telling you, if Kelsey Mitchell was running the show and she was being blitzed like Caitlin Clark would be blitzing, she'd be averaging 15 turnovers a game. Defensively, the lineup of... They went out with a lineup of Samuelson at the 4, Caitlin Clark at the 3, Berger at the 1, and Mitchell on the floor. And they got scored on every single time. And Smith was at the 5. That is the worst defensive team I have ever seen in all of basketball. Not only do they not know where they're supposed to be, none of them can guard anybody. None of them can stay in front of their man. And at the same time, none of them knew how to rotate. It was bad. It was so bad to watch. And Caitlin Clark does not get a pass because it doesn't matter how bad things were. She looked like she gave up halfway through the third quarter. And you know what? I will say this, and I tweeted it out, and I stand by this point. Caitlin Clark gets mauled. There was a possession where Jewel Lloyd pump faked, nudged into Clark, realized she didn't have enough space, dropped the shoulder, and rammed Caitlin Clark into the ground. She literally shoulder barged the player into the ground and no call. And the following possession, Caitlin Clark's in the air, gets smacked in the air, hits the deck, no call. And it's okay. Then she goes and I'm pretty sure she got hit in the face on that 3. Was talking smack, then ended up obviously getting teed up. And then in the second half, I think it's still maybe a ball game at this stage, maybe an 11-point game. She's posting up, and before the ball's being passed, she is being mauled in the post. So probably a foul. If any Indiana Fever player did that to another team's player, it'd be a foul. Because that's the problem, is that you are allowed to play prison rules if it's Caitlin Clark, but if you look at a player the wrong way and you're a Fever player, it's going to be a foul. There was one time, I think, what's her name? Magbagor. She dribbled in and Samuelson just grabbed the ball. Just grabbed the ball. It was a jump ball. Foul. It just doesn't make sense. But obviously on the play where Christy Sides got teed up, Caitlin Clark is getting mauled. Should have been a foul. Then on the inbounds pass, gets fouled while trying to catch the ball. Kind of fumbles the ball. Takes a dribble in and manages to get a layup where she gets hacked on the layup. So this is not even three fouls. These are three like stonewall blatant fouls that like a legally blind man who can just barely see the sport would realize, oh, something wrong there. Let me blow a foul. 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 times she was fouled in one possession. And then like Caitlin Clark straight to the referee. And Christy Sides, and I will defend Christy Sides on this, sprinted onto the floor and got herself teed up. Almost got herself thrown out of the game. Because if Christy Sides had stayed silent, Caitlin Clark was getting thrown from that game. And you know what? I couldn't blame her. I can't blame her at this stage. She looks demoralized. That's not an excuse, though. I will say that is not an excuse for not playing defense. Like the first possession of the fourth quarter, they've had an awful third quarter, and Caitlin Clark does I can't remember who it was. Was it Corey Brewer? I can't remember who the clip is, where the player is like denying somebody on the wing, and they just cut the whole way across the floor, and they stand there watching, not realizing the player moved. She got caught with that at the start of the fourth. That was terrible. It was absolutely terrible. It's not an excuse, but like when she is throwing, she threw a unbelievable pass to Mitchell, who blew an open layup. Like, I'm pretty sure like she could have had 15 assists if her team could make open layups. The amount of time she drove in and kicked the wide open shooters and they couldn't hit, like it was just awful. Like it's not an excuse to give up, because it looked like Caitlin Clark did give up, but she is completely demoralized. It's not an excuse to switch off on defense like she has, but like she's demoralized. She's getting mauled by defenders. She's getting double and triple teamed, and every time she passes to anyone not named Aaliyah Boston Smith or what's her name, Mitchell, who when Mitchell's within one dribble of the basket, anyone else she passes the ball to, they're gonna either miss the layup or fumble it. Like, it's bad. It is really bad. But again, look, I get it. Not an excuse for the attitude. But I think if I'm in her boat, I'd be in a similar situation. And I stand by it. Like, the referees are not protecting Caitlin Clark. And I don't mean overly protecting Caitlin Clark, but like protect Caitlin Clark like you would protect any basketball player. She's going to get hurt. There was a layup in the third quarter where she went flying. She got hit on a layup and she went flying into the basket. And it's like, what? A couple of inches differently and that's a neck injury. When she's getting hit in the air and knocked to the ground. And you might be saying, oh, but like even if they call the foul, they still get hurt. But that's where the issue is that players are pushing more and more and more what they can do with Caitlin Clark. Eventually, she's going to get hurt. Eventually, a player is going to push it too far and get her. And it's not even just with her, it's the whole team. Aaliyah Boston, it took about 3 seconds. Aaliyah Boston had her arm hooked by Mag Brewer. She had her arm hooked, no call. 1 second. 1 second later, no call. And then by the time the ref blew the whistle, she had her arm in a situation where if she yanked, that's her shoulder popped out. So it's like, the FIFA players are genuinely in danger on the floor right now, and it's shocking. Like, and then there was another foul where Magdalor fouled Caitlin Clark by blocking her at the 3-point line. She kind of nudged her at the 3-point line. The refs did not blow the whistle. Caitlin Clark takes another dribble. She hacks again. The ref blows the whistle on that and calls her on the floor. And then Caitlin Clark goes up for a layup. She gets hacked again, loses her balance, and kind of spins into some players. Where it's like, yeah, it's kind of a nothing thing. Like, if you are going to hack someone to stop them scoring a layup after a foul, and you're just going to effectively just wrap them up, make sure they land safely. But it doesn't matter, because Caitlin Clark, it's prison rules when Caitlin Clark has the ball. And it's prison rules for the Fever. But if the Fever even look the wrong way at another team's player, it's going to be a foul. Either way, pathetic defensive performance from the Fever. Absolutely pathetic. And like, I can't fault really Christy Sides at all. She tried new things. Celeste Taylor cannot be worse than Kirstie Wallace. She's terrible. She just is terrible at basketball. And Grace Berger is not the answer either. First half looked okay with Berger in the game. She hit a mid-range shot, but like, look, you just can't play Caitlin Clark at the 3. You just can't. She's ineffective without the ball in her hands. And it takes too much energy. She needs to get free with the ball in her hands. She needs to come off a double pin down or double stagger. It just takes too much energy out. And she's exhausted. Caitlin Clark is absolutely exhausted. And clearly just demoralized. Like, they're getting beaten. They're getting beaten well. Nobody's playing defense, including Clark, who might be the worst of all the defenders. But, like, that's a game. Like, in the first half, if the Fever could hit anything, like, with the gravity that Caitlin Clark has, like, there was a stat this season, 70% of shots the Fever take are considered wide open. And I don't know how many wide open shots Clark takes, but it's a lot less than 70%. So let's just say for the other players in the team, it's probably closer to 75, 80%. And they are shooting like under 40% on wide opens. On 70% of shots are wide open, they're shooting under 40% from the field. Like, it's bad. It's bad. And if you're Caitlin Clark drawing the gravity of three people and using your gravity to either find a player wide open for three or getting what should be a hockey assist, and your players cannot make a shot and half the time cannot catch the ball, you're going to be demoralized. But this team is terrible. Like, they actually don't look that bad. When Aaliyah Boston's on the floor, when Alyssa Smith is on the floor, when Clark is on the floor, heck, even when Mitchell's on the floor, and whoever the fifth player is, probably not Berger, but that's probably not the worst thing having Berger in with that lineup. You probably want to put Samuelson in there. You definitely don't want to put Wallace in there. I don't know what the hell she does. Maybe Lexi Hull, who seems to have forgot how to shoot the ball. She hit the backboard twice on corner threes today. But like, it's a horrible basketball team. It is a team with a couple of decent players surrounded by no 3 and no D players. Just one or the other. Trade for some players. I'm gonna make an entire video on this. Honestly, Lou Lopez Seneschal is riding the bench for Dallas. The one thing she's gonna do is shoot the damn lights out. I'm gonna make an entire video on that tomorrow. But like, the Fever need to do something, because if they don't change anything up, they legitimately might win 5 or less games. They look like one of the worst teams of all time, and it's bad. It's so bad. Like, they've got no depth anywhere. They have no depth they somehow have an abundance of players in a bunch of positions and no depth. Like, how bad is Saxton? If Saxton can't even play in that game where you are going small ball and getting killed, how bad must she be? Just cut her already. Like, if Celeste Taylor's so bad that she can't play in that game, just cut her already. If you're not going to play her, cut her. Bring in someone who will play. Because half the people in this rotation, should not be in the rotation. It is a terrible, terrible basketball team.